Okay, so last week I did a video about Phillip Anthony Mitchell, rightfully so, calling out the dangers of radical Islam. Now, this week, I'm not exaggerating, he is being called out for being a white nationalist. Guys don't know who Phillip Anthony Mitchell is. He's a black dude. He's not being called a white nationalist for having Christian conservative values and having an issue with Islam. This is peak brain rot. Peak brain rot and peak rage bait. Okay, so check this out.
Radical ideology that is hostile towards Christianity.
Yeah, so this is Pam. Pam runs a very spooky church in Atlanta with a dungeon aesthetic. Pam's church...
It's just like a regular venue. It's a dungeon aesthetic because they're in a warehouse that's blowing up and they post a lot of photos in black and white. Like this is hilarious.
It's like a place Blade would go to hunt vampires.
Now that's funny.
That is incompatible with Western fundamentals.
You're black. Yeah, your body is incompatible with Western.
Your body is incompatible with Western fundamentals. The sad part about this is he never unpacks what Western fundamental values are. This is how cooked this dude is. He has no idea what he's even talking about, right? So Western fundamental values, what are those? Oh, I don't know, stuff like freedom of speech, equality, things in our Constitution. Doesn't mean that there aren't issues within American history. And I'm not even arguing that America is this Christian nation per se, right? Like I think it's a very complicated origin. But Christian Western fundamentals specifically are the downstream effects of a Protestant worldview, specifically post-Protestant Reformation, the ink press, enlightenment that came out of that. And they're primarily valued in stuff like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of bodily autonomy. You're equal to other people. You have certain rights, private property, so on and so forth. To say that black people are not compatible with those values. Think about that for a second. Black people are incompatible with freedom of speech. Black people are, according to this guy, with private property. Like this is peak asinine.
Fundamentalism.
That is incompatible with Western fundamentals.
Under Western fundamentalism, you're not human. You're chattel, and you're a black brute who needs to be tamed by greater white civilization. But go off, King.
And if we don't have an awakening in this hour, your children are going to suffer in sore minds.
I believe you're speaking about Islam.
Of course.
Also, I assume he's not talking about just regular Sunni Islam. I'm sure he's talking about Islamic extremism, which is actually...
Well, no. See, this is the sleight of hand. Islam, in its proper teaching of it, is extremism. Islam in its proper teaching. I'm not talking about Muslims, because there's a lot of Muslims that don't practice Islam, just like there's a lot of Christians that don't practice Christianity. People that claim to be something yet don't live by its tenets. So this is the issue with these sorts of conversations, is there's so many sleight of hand, little tricky things. So let's look at what are Western fundamentals and how are black people incompatible with Western fundamentals, because you can't just throw statements out, right? And then we're going to talk about the tenets of Islam, which are very different and are incompatible with the tenets of these values. Western fundamentals or Western cultures are rooted in European and Mediterranean histories encompassing key principles such as individual liberty, democracy, the rule of law, and a mix of classical philosophy and Judeo-Christian ethics. These core values emphasize rationalism. That's why this entire argument sounds completely irrational and stupid, right? Free market economics, the ability to buy, sell, own private property, own the means of capital. The means of capital just means, what are you producing? If you are able to own the laptop that you produce, you own the means of capital. You own the means of what you're producing. If you own the farm, if you can own the tractor, you're owning the means, versus the collective, which is really the government owning the means of capital. So this is such a goofy conversation because of how dishonestly it's framed, in that so black people are incompatible with these values? Really? Yikes. This is crazy talk. Okay, let's get back to this terrible takedown of Phillip Anthony Mitchell.
Actually very compatible with Christian nationalism, but that's a video for another.
He thinks Islam is compatible with Christian nationalism because Islam and Christianity both think that homosexuality is a sin. This is the most low IQ take I've ever heard in terms of the differences between very incongruent worldviews. In Islam, the best relationship somebody can have with God is a slave-master relationship. In Christianity, you are grafted in as children of God. You are no longer a slave to sin. You are a child of God, right? Very incongruent. In Christianity, it says that there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female. Women have equal rights. That's where this came out of, is a Christian worldview. This is well documented in folks like Tom Holland and Glenn Scrivener, The Air We Breathe. That is not compatible with Islam. Women are not viewed as equals. You're allowed to beat your wife in Islam. They have to be covered up in Islam. So the point that there's overlap because we agree on one or two sin issues is crazy talk.
Yeah, Pam is really intense and really scary. I put him at the top of my raccoon list.
Yikes. This is the Western fundamental. So he got Stephen A. Smith here. And you notice that the trend here is everyone here has some conservative leanings. And when you actually poll, not how people vote, but the black community, you find that there's a lot of overlap with conservative values. Stuff like capitalism and hard work and the right to defend yourself, the right to bear arms, right? There's a lot of overlap with these sorts of things. But anyone that assigns these things, what he calls them, I wouldn't even repeat it.
Next to Travis. Pam has more of a conviction, though, in his raccoonery.
Warn America that if the bride of Christ in America, if she does not wake up, we will be held captive in our own country by a radical ideology.
Pam's Christian nationalism.
He's right. He's absolutely right. You see what's happening in Europe. See the number of mayors to their major cities in Europe that are Muslim. See the number of mosques going up. Like, you could see it now. So he's wrong? You don't think this is coming to America? You don't think this is a strategy that's being done by folks who keep losing these wars and keep failing at the terroristic threats, and so therefore they're now angry and are migrating? This is an entire philosophy. It's been exhaustively explained repeatedly.
Raccoonery is very intense. It's giving justification for the Crusades. And
some of the Crusades were justified. Punchline. You probably haven't read about them. But the initial Crusades were a response to Islamic conquest. That's the history of what we're coming out of. And so to not know this and to come on here so certainly crashing out on another black man, mind you, who's doing a great job, leading a church, helping people find freedom, overcome substance abuse, feeding people, clothing people, to crash out on this dude because you don't like his values that overlap with conservatives is crazy. I hope Phillip Anthony Mitchell triples down on this.
It's giving a spooky that sits by the door. Pam might love the door. Pam might really love the door and actually love the institution that the door is attached to.
Yeah, that's a big womp womp on top of just a complete misunderstanding of Western values, a complete misunderstanding of what Protestant values are, a complete misunderstanding of how horrific Islam actually is when you step outside of a nation and outside of a Western society that's highly influenced by Christianity, and you think that, oh man, we just accidentally got to all of this in America. All this equality and the striving for equality, despite there being issues and despite there being all sorts of things that we still have to work out. All of that, we just got here on accident. It had nothing to do with the values that the West was built on that were direct downstream effects of Christianity. And all the scholarly work on this, we're just going to throw it out and we're going to say, hey, because a black man holds values that are overlined with conservative principles, which are the downstream effects of Scripture, mind you, that he is a white nationalist. Perhaps the biggest rage bait take of the year. Big L for this creator. I think his name is Clay Creations. Womp, womp, womp. Really sad stuff. And shout out to Phillip Anthony Mitchell. I hope he doubles and triples down on this, man. Keep speaking truth. I think this is awesome, especially as he's leading a multicultural church in a multicultural city, standing firm on doctrine. I've loved seeing how God has breathed on his ministry. I think it's amazing.